I'm Kelly from Kelly Jones Jewellery. Today we're making this pendant. Everything you need is in the description below. Let's get started. So cut your wires to the lengths that I have. Take your 5 base wires, position your thumb centrally, and we'll start weaving just to the left of your thumb there. We'll take the bottom wire away just for the first few repeats, and then we'll bring that back in. So starting at that point. So we'll start with a few wraps around that bottom wire. And then we'll go twice around the bottom two. Come up between those two. We'll go twice around the middle two. Twice around the top two. Then twice around the middle two. Twice around the bottom two. So keep pushing it together as you go, and then here we'll add our extra wire at the bottom. So line it up with the beginning so you've got it the right length. And we'll just add it into that weave. So we go now twice around our new bottom two wires. And we'll have to keep adjusting him to start with. I think I'm adjusting everything all the time at the minute. So then we go around the next two. And we'll just carry on like that, going around, up and down twice around two wires. So I've got one repeat without the wire at the bottom, then I've got a whole repeat with the wire at the bottom. Now I'm going to leave that bottom wire out, so I'm going to come up between those two, and I'm now going to do a repeat like the beginning without that bottom wire in there. And then I'm going to finish with 3 wraps around our new bottom wire. Push it all together. So now we can cut the wire off at both ends. And where's my pliers gone? And we can press those little cut ends down. So take your stone and move into a flat surface. Isn't that beautiful? That's one of Stone's carved stones. I've mentioned him before in my videos. So this is going to wrap around, so we need to hold that at the bottom there. I'm absolutely taken by how beautiful that stone is. Let's start with putting a bend in the bottom there. And then position it at the bottom of the stone. And we'll carefully take the wires around the stone, trying to keep the stone nice and central. So we want the wires to go all the way around, cross over at the top, and we want this weave to be nice and flat against the stone at the bottom. Then at the top there, we need to bend the wires back out. Fingers aren't really up to it today, so I'm going to grip and wiggle. And then making sure the wires haven't crossed over each other, I'm going to bend them out. So looking at your shape, just after where this curve is and it starts coming back in here, we're going to add a weave on both sides. We'll do the same weave as the bottom so it's all matching. So we'll start on this side. Now it is a bit easier if you spread these wires out at the top, so kind of hold the middle and you spread the wires out a bit at the top. Just makes it a bit easier to hold. So take your weaving wire and wrap 3 times around the bottom wire, back wire, bottom wire, and we'll slide that down. And then we'll just do the weave that we did before. So do that same weave and finish with 3 wraps around the bottom wire. Cut that wire off at both ends. It's Gracie snoring already. And press those cut ends down. So slide that weave down a little or to where you want it to be. And we'll do the same for the other side. So doing this one, we're going to have to do the weave upside down so it matches these. Again, part the wires first, makes it a little bit easier. So we're going to start with 3 wraps around the top wire and then just do the same weave. We'll do a single repeat and we'll finish with 3 wraps around the top wire. New tutorial now in my Etsy shop. This one's a written tutorial, so it has loads of pages and hundreds of images for you to follow along at your own pace. So pop over to Etsy, check it out, and I'll see you there. Bye. So I've done that repeat. Push it together. I need to slide it down. So slide it down to be the same height if you can as the other side. And we'll cut the cut those wires off at each end, press the cut ends down, and then check the shape around your stone again, because it does tend to move a little when you add the weaves. And check the heights of the weaves. I do love that stone. I'll put another link for his shop on here, and there is a discount if you add my code. I'll put that on the screen. Beautiful. So make sure your weaves are the same height. I've just realised how quiet I was talking through all that, sorry. So make sure your weaves are the same height and your bottom weaves are pretty central. And now we'll attach it together at the top. So at the top, we're going to wrap around, oops, take one of your back wires and we'll wrap around that wire to attach. And then holding the top together, but don't let the wires cross over each other, they all need to be nice and tidy next to each other. We go around the whole thing. So I've gone around about 5 times, and then I'll wrap around the back wire to secure those wraps for now. And then I can work out what I'm doing for the top part in a mo. So this wire from the beginning, we can cut that. I'm sorry, I keep talking quiet. I'll make sure I put the captions on. I'm too relaxed. So I'm going to part the wires a little bit at the top. Just a little bit, just to hold it, so it holds a bit better. Reposition your stone in there. Isn't it beautiful? And we'll start with the back, so turn to the back. So we want to grip the wires right next to this weave here. So get your finger in, get your nail in there, and pull the wire a little bit, just so we can get the pliers in there, quite low down on both sides. And we need to recheck that the weaves haven't moved on the sides. And then we're going to grip that wire right next to the weave, and we're going to twist the wire so it kind of comes over the stone. I've got my thumb here to put this shape in the wire, so I'm kind of holding it down a little, and then we're going to push that wire against the stone, so I'm kind of pushing it over the stone a little bit. We can exaggerate that in a minute. Got a little tail end there sticking out. We're going to grip the wire at the other side of that weave, wriggle it in and twist that wire in. Push that wire over the stone a bit. That's held in at the bottom, and then we need to do something up here to hold it in at the top. So again, pull the wire back a little bit just so we can get the pliers in there. And we'll grip quite low down next to that weave, and we'll twist the wire in. I'm holding it at the top, so I'm kind of holding it in place as it bends in. We'll do that on this side too, right next to the weave. Big twist, so you've got a proper corner in that wire. trying to tidy up the top so they look the same. So that's the back. And then we'll do the front. So on the front, we need a gap between the wires, both sides. I'm going to kind of grip it sort of centrally, and I'm going to hold in the top down. I'm going to pull it and twist it so we get like this shape. And while I'm here and I'm in that same position, I'm going to do it with the next one. So grip the wire, and we're going to pull it in and we're going to twist it. We need to hold it back at the top there. And then we need to do that on this side too. So we're aiming for the same kind of place. And we've got to pull it in and twist at the same time. And then the next one. Pull it in, and twist. And then I'm going to pull these top wires in just a little bit. So again, we'll make a gap at the top there. Really trying to follow my little drawing, because I do tend to change things. I've wanted to change it loads already. I'm trying to stick to it. Right, so here, sort of more towards the top I think, and I'm going to hold the top in place as I twist it and bring it in. So I'm kind of making a scoop, and then it comes down like that. So I need to do that same thing on this side. So I need to twist it the same way. As I twisted it that way to the left, now I have to twist it that way to the right to get them to be the same. So I'm going to grip it here, and I'm going to twist it and pull it in at the same time. That pulls the middle wires together nicely at the top there, and we get that little shape. It is a little bit different to the drawing, a little bit, but that's what we've got so far. So now we're going to weave along these wires. So we're going to spread them out the best we can. I'm going to leave 2 on both sides because there's too many wires. And we want them all in a straight line. So put them next to wherever they sit best. You want them parted a little bit at the top so we can make it easier to weave. So to start with, this weave is going to be quite squashed, so we'll do the best we can, and then it should look better as we go a bit further along the wires. So we've gone around the bottom 2 and come up between them, gone around the next 2, come up between them. It's going to be hard to push them down as well at the beginning. go around the next two and come up between those. So we'll keep doing that, going around the two, coming up between them until we get to the top. Managed to slide it down a little bit more. So on the way back down, we go around each wire individually. And then try and slide that down again a bit. The next one will be easier, and then it should start taking shape after that. So push it down and then try and keep the wires in, because we want them to come, we don't want them all to splay out and have this big fan of a weave. We want them to come up, but they have to sit next to each other. By the time we get to here, the weave will be nice and straight. So keep going the best you can doing that weave, wrapping around two wires on the way up, coming up in between those two wires, and then go around each wire on the way, all the way back down to the bottom. So that's after 3 repeats. You can see it's all starting to level up a bit now. And I shaped these wires a little bit differently. I was looking at the front and I twisted the wire back a little bit on both sides to give it that nice shape at the top. So I've just kept repeating that weave till I've got about 2 centimetres. About there. So keep pushing your weave down, keep pushing it together to get it nice and tidy. So I'm going to finish this weave with another wrap around that bottom wire. Cut that wire and press the little cut end down. Then I'm going to wrap that weave around my bail pliers. So I'm going to bring the weave over the pliers. I want it right towards the end. So the weave goes up the back over the top, but it stops there and we've just got bare wires coming down the front there. So we've got 6 wires, so we're going to have 3 on each side. So we want to grab the 2 wires. Hold on, this is going to be awkward. These 2. So not the end one, but the next 2. And I'm going to scoop those wires over to this side, like so. We're going to do the same with the other 2, so grab these 2, so not the end one, but the next 2. And we're going to scoop those over to the opposite side, so we've got this little crisscross at the top there. Part those wires a little bit. To the side, I'm squeezing a little bit to bring the wires closer to that join there. And I'm going to cross these 2 bottom wires over so they cross at that join there. So then I'm just spreading the wires out a little bit. So now I've got 3 on one side and 3 on the other. I'm going to take the top wire over these wires here and try not to lose the shape of it and the angle of the wire. I'm going to take that wire over the side, and take the top wire on this side, take that over those wires, and try not to lose the shape again at the front. I want it to go to the back. So we hold those wires in place, bend them across the back there, and then we can finish those off. I'm going to cut them short and just pop them around the bottom of the bail there. Bend them a little, check that the front hasn't moved, bend them a little more, check the front hasn't moved, because as you tighten wires up they tend to shift. And then when you're happy with the shape, fully tighten them up around that bail section. Then we're going to take the next two wires, and they're going to come just underneath these wires to the back. Actually going to finish those wires around these wires, so when it's where you want it to be, take it around those side wires, make sure it doesn't pull too tight, cut it off and wrap it around. Where these wires cross in the middle, I'm going to bend them back out the other way so they just meet in the middle. We'll take the front wire of those two, and we'll scoop it around, up and over. Take the bottom wire too, pushing it down at the base and then scooping it up and over. I want it to sit on the inside, so I'll bring it forwards just a little bit, bring it around, whoops. We've got to do that with the other side to match it up. So take the top one and push it down at the top, and we scoop it around, and then you want to bring it across the front. And then as you do this one, you've got to like look at the other one and try and get it the same height, and then that same kind of scoop shape. I'm ignoring those bottom two that I sent back out at the minute just to match these two up, and then I'll look where that's going. Then we'll do the bottom wire. It's going to need a little bit of tweaking because there's lots going on with all these wires. And we'll send this one up, and we're going to bring it to the front and around a little tighter so it sits inside that shape, and then bring it around, checking the shapes on the other side. so it kind of matches. The whole thing's twisted a bit, I need to straighten it all up. I'm going to add a little bead in there. So I've taken those two, you know, the back wires that we just bent back out. I see back wires, they're behind all these curvy bits. So I've taken those wires out to the sides and I'll use those for attaching the bead to. So take one of those back wires and we'll attach with your weaving wire. Gonna slide that up to where we want it to be, and then I'm gonna put the pop of the bead on there. And then take the wire back under to this wire, and then I'll wrap it around this wire a few times. Pull it nice and tight so the bead stays in place. And if you're using very thin weaving wire like me, you can then take the wire back through the bead and reattach on the other wire just to make sure it's extra secure. Both ends of the weaving wire off. We finish the bead wires by taking them up and across the back, but before you bend them you have to keep checking that your bead hasn't moved. And then cut those and attach them around the top of that wire there. Trying to keep the video quite short. I was just going to finish these wires off to the back, but I think I'm just going to add a little bit of weave here just to hold those together in the middle because I think they might move. We'll attach to the second wire from the bottom there. So wrap 3 times around that wire. Nice and high up where all the wires are all together. I'm going to go around the middle two, try and not get the bead involved here, and then go around all of the wires. And then come up and go around the middle two again. Just a little tie. And then wrap it a couple of times, just twice around that second wire. Just kind of just holds it together there, so it doesn't escape. Cut off those wires. Press down the tail ends. I meant press down the cut ends, not the tail ends. Then holding those wires in place, we'll take the back ones first. And they can also finish off around that back wire there. To make a little gap, and then take that wire around, totally pulled that out of place then. And carefully, very carefully take that wire around that back wire. And keep checking the front shape, because as you do it, tighten those wires at the back, they do pull the front wires out of place. And we need to make sure that that wire isn't escaping the back of the stone, so it needs to still be across the back there, because I've pulled that wire away. It still needs to hold the stone in there. The last 2 wires, I'm going to take this one over to that side around the bead, and this one around the bead this way. And then holding the wires at the front carefully across to the back and this side. And you know what to do, finish it off at the back. Make sure these wires are the same height. And then keep adjusting those as you're tightening the wires around those back wires. Give those wires a push so that the bead can pop through between those wires a little bit and they're not covering it up too much. Mine's a 3mm bead, by the way. You can always trim these little bits off if your wire ends up sticking up and you've got a sharp bit. You can either file it down or you can just trim the end of that wire off, and it won't be so sharp then. Push the wire back against the stone there. And there we have it. I'll run and oxidise mine. You have got sharp bits on the back there because my wires were cut a bit short in places. Just get the old nail buffer on it. And it smooths it all down nicely. So there we have it, finished. I've oxidised mine. If you'd like help oxidising yours, I did a video on oxidising and aftercare. I'll put a link in the description below. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you all in the next one. Thanks to Stones Cart again for this absolutely beautiful stone, and I will see you all soon. Bye for now. Bye.